Hi, I'm Juanita and welcome back to the Knit Guru. This, of course, is Rocky, and we're, of course, in the middle of a rainy day in spring, which means that this video makes no sense. It made way back in December, while we were in a New Zealand summer. I made a pattern and a tutorial for some crochet water bombs or water balloons or whatever it is you call them in your part of the world. I didn't release the pattern then because it was winter everywhere else in the world and you were all having a stunningly beautiful white Christmas while I was having a scorcher of a summer. So I thought, you know what I'll do? I'll release it in New Zealand's autumn in time for summer in the US. I didn't. And now I am in this bizarre position where those of you who have kept up with everything know that I'm recovering from a concussion and Rocky is, well, he's had a brain injury since birth, so it does mean that, you know, you don't choose your dog chooses you, clearly. So here's my tutorial at the least appropriate time for water balloons / water bombs. The advantage of it is they use up very small amounts of blanket yarn. Now, I found microfiber blanket yarn at Uncle Bill's, I think it was, or was it Crackerjack? One of the two. It was a discount store and it was 3 balls for either $10 or $12. I can't remember which. So you're going to need some blanket yarn. Now, use whatever size hook you want. You do you, boo. I'm using a 7mm crochet hook. Now, my 7mm crochet hook does mean that my stitches are quite loose, and you kind of want them to be loose. What we're aiming for here is for the fabric itself. My car is a mess. Everything is windy. Everybody inside is sick. I can't go up to the house because the house is filled with dehumidifier, and I am still recovering from this concussion. And should I be filming a voiceover? No, I should not, let alone an introduction. I should have done the introduction. Actually, I think I did the introduction, but to be honest, I can't find it, can I? I can't find it at all. So please enjoy these water balloons. 7mm crochet hook, or as large as you can be bothered using, or if you've got a thicker blanket yarn, because I've seen some American blanket yarns are quite thick, go with a thicker crochet hook. You want your stitches to be quite loose because we don't have any stuffing. We're not worried about our stitches being close together at all. We're wanting them to have quite a loose weave so that when they get wet they'll hold the water, but then when you throw them at somebody it will release the water. That's the one. Now, this tutorial is filmed in somewhat real time, so it's incredibly boring. So I'm so sorry for that one in advance. But here we go. 7mm crochet hook, microfiber blanket yarn, and let's make some water balloons / water bombs / at least I do still have some footage of the yarn that I purchased, which may have some more details. Let's go. And then I got some of this here. Chunky knit microfiber yarn, and the plan is reusable water bombs. Yep, dog is not a fan of a truck driving up and down the paddock. Good times. So I'm going to make some of these into reusable water bombs. I figured this one is going to be more absorbent. And there he goes. He's such a brave boy. He's not brave at all. Right, so let's start working on our water balloons here. So I've got my 7mm hook and I'm making a magic ring. So we're just going to start off and we're going to do 8 half double crochets into the magic ring. I'm starting with a chain 2. You don't have to. You can just go straight with a half double crochet. Of course, Rocky's having a sleep because of course he's having a sleep. Why wouldn't he have a sleep? Yep, there he goes, slipping out of the hook. So at this point, I should be wondering to myself, exactly why am I doing this in real time? Other than it felt like one of those ones where if you can see it happening in real time, you can see that it happens really quite quickly, particularly if you crochet faster than I do. So we've got 8 single crochets into our magic ring. Now, I'd try and crochet over the magic ring tail for as much as possible because, well, unless you really want to worry about your yarn tail and stitch in your magic ring at the end, it's not that important. I find with this yarn, the magic ring tail doesn't slip out too easily when making these water balloons. I mean, we're not making a plushie, we're making a water balloon. It's going to get thrown around. The yarn tail's probably going to poke out at some point, and guess what? There are no crochet police and nobody's going to judge you. By all means, you can pick up a needle at some point in like the first two rows, pick up your yarn tail and darn in that end around the bottom. That will make it more secure, that's fine, but I have not bothered. Once you've got your 8 half double crochets there, we're just going to slip stitch to close this ring. We're going to do it off camera, clearly, because why not make a tutorial where most things are off out of view. So we're now going to chain 2, which counts as our half double crochet, and we're going to put 2 half double crochets into every stitch around. Again, it doesn't actually matter if you get this wrong. Like, by all means, accidentally put 3 in one and 1 in another. No one's going to complain. In fact, if you've got one of these variegated yarns, no one's even really going to notice at this point. Yeah, so we're just putting 2 half double crochets into every stitch. That's going to take our 8 stitches up to 16. And that's all of the increases that we're going to use on this entire project. So it does happen really quickly. So I say that while managing to fumble the yarn. You can do this with double crochets. Now, what I found with my experiments with double crochets is that the double crochets were looser, obviously, than the half doubles. And in being looser, it did work up faster, but I found that the half double crochets actually held more water. It could just have been my yarn. It may have just been that there was like a perfect storm of um, the number of fibers over the space of fibers and the water retention and all of that stuff. But I found that the half double crochets, it did give us enough fabric to get wet, as well as the fibers being close enough together that they held the water. The double crochets made it a little bit too loose and didn't hold quite as much, but they did work up faster. I also tried some experiments where I had single crochets in the magic ring and then half double crochets and then double crochets and, all that kind of nonsense. But to be honest, these worked up relatively quickly just with half double crochets in and around. And, they went down a treat. So here we are, we're at the end of our increasing round. And we're just going to slip stitch into our chain 2 to end off our round. So now you can see when we fold this in half, we've got a bit of a shape going on. What we're going to do now is I'm going to pick, here's one I prepared earlier. So if we have a look here, we've got these rows here, which are just straight rows of half double crochet. All we're going to do here is just half double crochet all the way around. So there's our first row, there's our increases, there's the ones that we're going to be increasing. So we're going to be doing our increasing over 5 rows. So we're going to have 5 rows of half double crochet. Which is going to start bringing it into a balloon shape. So we're going to start each row with a chain 2, or you don't have to. It is completely up to you. I have, but I just went into a spiral after this point. I didn't bother even doing the chain 2 or the slip stitch to close each round. You can. You're probably a better person than I am if you did. But I didn't. I just went in a spiral in and around for 5 rows. You may notice that I'm flying close to the wind here. Am I using a stitch marker? No, I am not. Is it because I'm a supremely good crocheter and I can always tell where I am in a row and that I kept good counting? Nope. This is not a project where any of this matters. My point in making these was to make something really quickly that was going to be a fun and interactive activity on Christmas Day over here in New Zealand. It was an absolute scorcher. my 6-year-old niece, and we had a 6-week-old nephew, and we had two 19-year-olds, and that made up the children at the Christmas event. So keeping the 19-year-old boys enthused with playing with the 6-year-old to keep her busy on Christmas Day is always the fun part. So water balloons slash water bombs, always the way to go. Now, once we've got to the end of our rows here, what we're now going to do is we're going to be decreasing. We're going to be decreasing by doing 2 half double crochets together. So half double crochet 2 together, or a half double crochet decrease. And we're going to do that over a whole row, which is going to take our row of 16 down to a row of 8. Then you're just going to continue doing half double crochet decreases. I'm doing the invisible decreases where you just pick up the front loop of the stitch. But you do you, boo. It does not matter if you want to do traditional decreasing or if you want to do the invisible decreasing, because again, it's really just about getting this little puppy wet and thrown around the yard at teenagers. So once we've finished our row and we've got 8 stitches in the row, we're just going to do it again, and we're going to half double crochet 2 together around our last row until we've got 4 stitches remaining in our water balloon slash water bomb. Yeah, so it's not a complicated thing. Once we've got our 4, all we're going to do is slip stitch into the next stitch to close, trim off our yarn tail and darn in that end. Now I only worry about darning in that end simply because it's right there. What you can do, and I thought about this afterwards, is before you trim off the yarn, why don't you chain 4 or 5 stitches and then slip stitch into the start of the chain? You'll be asking yourself, why? My reasoning is that then you can hang the water balloons up on a little hook to dry. So if you're wanting to, you might be one of these people who wants to put them in the washing machine and pop them in the dryer. I'm not one of those people. Do I want to pop them in the washing machine and then pop them up on the line? Only if they've got muddy. Otherwise, all I'm going to do is hang them up on a little hook. Either they can be hung up on a little hook outside, they could be hung up on the edge of the bucket to be dripped into the bucket to collect the water back up again. Or what I thought would be a great idea would be putting one of those command hooks in the bathroom and just hanging them on the command hook in the bathroom while the 6-year-old niece is hanging around, or give them a command hook with the packet, so that whoever's got these water balloons can just hang them up somewhere to dry. I found in a bathroom that you could just drip them down into the bathtub, and that would be perfectly acceptable. You're not going to have to worry about cleanup. It's just all there, and then they're ready to go yet again next time. Again, this is some quality footage of nothing, Juanita. You have managed to do terrible footage this whole way through. Hopefully my voiceover is at least providing you some form of entertainment, because it's not like you can see what I'm doing with the actual crochet. Again, I am still recovering from the concussion, so in order to produce enough videos, we are scraping the bottom of the barrel here, and clearly I remembered this tutorial as much better than it is right now. So, yeah. Here I am. I'm finally up to my slip stitch to close the end. You can tell that I'm about to snip the end of the yarn. By the way, oh, there we go, little scissors, snipped, snippity, snippity, and then just pull it through. Done in that end, and you're good to go. I made these into a set of 12, but to be honest, you can make as many or as few of these as you want. Either way, they're going to get thrown and hit at somebody.
These reusable water bombs, they're crocheted. There will be a tutorial. It's blanket yarn, so they absorb water quite nicely, and then you throw them and they don't leave the horrible little balloony bits around. So she's got 4 in each colour, some with added dog fur, it turns out, and some with some crumbs, because it's taken me a while to put them all together. So there's 4 pale blue, 4 darker blue, and 4 of the pinky purpley colour. So there's 12 altogether, and I'll put them in that plastic bag.
Right, so hopefully you thoroughly enjoyed making these water balloons. I've got to remember to actually put the water balloons in that bit there, or I just look really unhinged. In the meantime, Rocky thinks that he's going to get to go for a drive because we're in the car. I'm now just avoiding doing anything like getting out of the car because it's raining. What an appropriate day to be releasing a video for reusable water balloons. However, I can tell you this. On Christmas Day, my niece did open up the reusable water balloons, and what was great was that she had recently been given another set of reusable water balloons, but they were ones that had been purchased from a store, but they had been crocheted, and I'm sure they were crocheted somewhere in China by somebody who was not paid enough to do it. My ones and their ones worked very similar. According to my stepson, who was 18 at the time, he said that the purchased ones, you could get a really good thwop in, which worried me because my niece was 5 and I'm worried about throwing things at her. Mine were not as dense as the purchased ones that she had also been given, but it was quite a nice product comparison, if nothing else. Mine did manage to get wet quickly, hold enough water to throw and get whacked with, and then when you picked them up you could throw them again, but it didn't have the same force in the second whack. The purchased ones did hold more water in their second whack, so hold that in advisement for yourself. But anyway, if you would like to watch a different video, here's one up here that YouTube thinks that you're going to enjoy. Then we've got a playlist down here of probably other crochet patterns that I've put out over the years. Ones that might be more appropriate seasonally than water balloons in the middle of winter or as everybody's gone back to school in the US. And up here you can subscribe, because if you don't subscribe, you are never going to find a seasonally appropriate knitting or crochet pattern on this channel. From me and Rocky. Let's catch you later on. Bye.